I am so fed up with this new generation of men. They literally don't want to get you no flowers. They don't want to take you on no dates. All they want to do is ask you what you doing all day long and tell you lies. Like, I'm over it.
The majority of guys seem to just like have given up.
I also think too, there's a little bit of a desperate energy coming from
that's
people.
what happens when
it's like
that's what I'm saying. It's a snowball effect. Like,
yeah,
you have a positive relationship. A girl likes you back. You suck at first. You get better at it. Like, confidence improves. Like, all of a sudden her friend wants to bang you. Confidence improves. Like, things happen, right? Like, you know, you go down the road and eventually like you develop more confidence through your experience and this and that. But like, if your alternative is like, oh, this girl shot me down, I'm gonna go smoke weed, jerk off, and play video games, and that becomes your default setting, then like, where the fuck are you in a year if you do that for 1 year? Now you're a year out of the game. Like, you're less confident. You're fucking in worse shape. You're fucking probably ADD is firing through the fucking roof. Your dopamine receptors are fucking saturated. It's like, where are you at, right? And it's like, it gets progressively worse and worse. Like, at what point do these guys just give up? Because like, after 2 years, what's 2 years and one more day of not having sex, right? Like, it gets to a point where, and so yeah, you just have a whole bunch of the society that's basically like withdrawn from.
Guardian came out with a bunch of stats about Gen Z dating today, and one of the most shocking ones is that the one-night stand might be dead. It compares the frequency. 78% of millennials versus 23% of Gen Z. I think it's way, way, way too simple to assume it's just because purity culture is winning. I refuse to accept that. I think it's that people are dragging shit out. You went out and you met someone in 2004, the chances of you finding that person and tracking them down or adding them on social media or breadcrumbing them, the like on their story that resulted in you going back and forth on stories to them coming over for a second time was very minimal, which I think means that a lot more people were seeing someone once. I think that's what this stat is missing, is how many more Gen Zs are having situationships or prolonged talking stages that never result to anything compared to what millennials were doing. It was far from the only grim statistic pointed out here though. More shocking, I would say, is that 63% of men under 30 are single, only 34% of women are. Is this the male loneliness thing I've been hearing so much about? I don't know. I don't really understand how that stat could work. Are men just saying they're single and girls are qualifying less serious things as relationships? I could not tell you, but the whole set of data has me concerned about Gen Z, and all I can tell you is do what you feel comfortable, but you're never going to find the love of your life sitting at home watching Netflix.
Now it's divisive. You see how they playing, y'all? Nobody had anything to say about it in the 80s, in the 90s. In the early aughts, it was all good. But now brothers are asking the question. Remember what I talked about before? Now it's sassy because brothers aren't supposed to ask for it. What's in it for me? What are the benefits for me? I freaking love it that brothers today are asking that question. I'm a Generation Xer. There are a lot of brothers in the Generation X cohort that have a different orientation, if you will. I love it that, you know, our millennial and Gen Z brothers are stepping forward with the question, with a whole chest. And I'm gonna show you a video from a brother that looks to be, you know, at the very least an older millennial, if not a young Gen Xer. I'm gonna show you what I mean in a minute. I love it that the younger brothers are saying it with their whole chest. Well, what do you bring to the table? I think that's a fair question. But anyway, let's get back to this guy. I just had to stop right there and check that part right there. Now all of a sudden it's divisive. You can't make this stuff up. Let's get back to the tape.
Minimizing a person's ego, but also your valuation, the estimation of your value of yourself should not be simply because of your accomplishments.
You know, it's so hard for Christians, and specifically Gen Z Christians, to find love. And I genuinely do think that this affects both sexes, because I see both sexes talking about how they go to church and they don't see anyone of the opposite sex there. But it's not because only men or only women go to church. It's because they go to different churches. Like, I came across this TikTok yesterday of this girl saying, I keep hearing Christian men say that they can't find a godly woman, but I'm just sitting in church every Sunday like my entire row is full of them. And I think she's right, because I've attended churches like this and it honestly was like 80% women. But I also see men saying the exact same thing about their churches, and I don't think they're lying either. The problem is that men and women are attending totally different churches for the most part, which is why they think that the opposite sex just isn't Christian anymore. Like, if we look at the data, Gen Z is pretty evenly split on church attendance, with men actually being more likely to go to church nowadays than women. But But there's a definite split when it comes to denominations. Men are much more likely to be more traditional denominations like Roman Catholic or Orthodox, and women are much more likely to be evangelical. These differences become way more pronounced when you get more granular into the denominations, specifically when you talk about non-denom megachurches like the type that I'm assuming she was referencing at the beginning of the video. Now, I'm not saying that you should switch churches in order to find love, specifically if it involves changing your beliefs, because I don't think that's ever a good idea. But I do think it's a reason to be a little bit more open, even just to like socials with other churches, because if you go to church on Sunday and there is no one there to date, it's probably just a sorting issue.
27% of guys my age within Gen Z, they've like never had a girlfriend. They've like experienced this kind of like emotional drought where people don't give them any attention. Then they end up kind of like locking themselves in the room and stuff like that.
Or getting a gun and shooting people.
Exactly, yeah. Depression is at an all-time high, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, on TikTok, for example, you know, you'll always see these TikToks or even on Twitter, it's guys, you know, talking about this whole phenomenon of like, yeah, you know, a girl complimented me today. I'm going to remember this for like 5 years because they've never gotten a compliment in 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
See, well, is this social media that's done this to your generation?
I don't think it's social media. I think it is the media. I don't think it's social media.
I really don't understand how almost my entire generation has basically lost interest in dating. Well, yes, I do understand. Like, I've heard the male loneliness epidemic. I've heard the things women have to say about men. But in all reality, a lot of these issues are just occurring because there are so many less gender rules now. So then everybody has their own preconceived notion about what the man they're looking for is, what the woman they're looking for is. And this is going to line up with very few other people on what they expect from a partner. So yeah, it may be a little bit more difficult to find somebody that is agreeing with you and what you're wanting in a relationship. But doesn't that make it even more special when you do find that? When you do find somebody who lines up with not only what you want a woman to be, but also what she wants a guy to be? Because this still exists. Unless you are just not a good human being, there are going to be people who want what you want. But the issue is people have just given up with looking. So now there aren't people who want what you want because nobody's looking for it. And yes, I've heard people say, well, nothing is better than something that's bad, which I guess is true. But like, wouldn't you just rather try to find something that's good? I don't know. Explain down below if you know this, because I'm really lost at why this is happening.
So they are so self-conscious about everything they do and say with the opposite sex that they're no longer approaching girls. They're not asking girls out. And I don't know. I guess they're just hiding in their rooms on their PS5s, becoming incels. So don't worry about the digital. Go analog. Look her in the eye. Ask her out. If she says no, that's okay. It wasn't meant to be. And my dad always said, you're never going to dance with a prom queen unless you tap her on the shoulder. So go tap someone's shoulder and then tap that ass.
50% of men are not looking for a relationship with a woman. I just finished the Stephen Bartlett episode with Chris Williamson, and this statistic was said in that podcast, and I have never been more shocked, because what the actual fuck? 50% of men are not looking for a relationship with a woman whatsoever. Not even a romantic one, just like a talking stage or whatever it may be. I think I speak for the other 50%. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know. I really don't. And I don't know how it's 50%, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not in that 50. I'm looking.
And say that having an OF is empowering. And I think for me, it's just hard to grasp how that can be empowering when you're chatting with men all day or having your management chat with men all day. Surprise, guys, if you're subscribed to an OF and you think it's her texting you.
It's her fat manager.
Yeah, it's not her. I could understand how it's appealing for a girl that just turned 18, fully not developed in her brain, thinks, oh my God, I can make 5 figures a month. I can post bikini pics and make equivalent to a teacher or a doctor.
There's a number of girls that I know, their MO is, I post this stuff for free on Instagram anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Therefore, if I just post a higher frequency of the same level of nudity on OnlyFans, that's basically my morals from Instagram. It's already been there.
Yeah.
There is nothing different. It's a branding problem.
I think they say that to like help themselves feel like better about it, maybe. I can only speak from my end, but it's the idea of getting people's money to show whatever it is that like for me just wouldn't click.
So unfortunately, it's sad, but it's true. According to the American Institute for Boys and Men, nearly half of young men are not dating. 46% report not having dated in their teenage years at all. So unfortunately, the dating market is cooked. There are ways we can probably make this better. In this digital age, maybe men can approach women more. Maybe women can spare some men more grace when they approach them. But in all honesty, I'll have to look into it more.
I'm 46, and here's why most men won't date me. Number 1, I don't drink. Number 2, I'm mostly carnivore, and when I'm not eating meat and ferments, then it's gonna be whole, real foods. No fast food, no junk, no processed seed oils, nothing that comes in a plastic bag or in a box. Number 3, I'm in bed most nights by 9 p.m. I like my beauty sleep. Number 4, small talk makes me want to stab my eyes out. So yeah, if we're not going to get like deep and weird right away, then I tend to get bored. Number 4, or is it number 5? Yeah, I forget what number we're on, but the last one is I'm a little crazy.
And that's really the long and short of it. You can probably find somebody that does all of those things that you do as far as dietary restrictions. If you're in the gym, you can probably find somebody doing that. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these modern women are crazy.
Is it crazy that I think Gen Z men might be the best generation of men to be dating right now? Like, my ex, he was 5 years older than me, full-blown millennial. When we met, I totally thought he was gonna have his shit together. He was older, you know, he's supposed to be more mature. Yeah, no, it took him locking me out of his apartment at 2 a.m. and me finally breaking up with him for him to admit that, yeah, maybe he needed to see somebody. He did. He went to therapy for a little bit and then stopped going the second he realized that he wasn't gonna be able to keep me. Meanwhile, I just went on a couple dates with a 25-year-old. He's been talking about how he's already been in therapy for like 2 years. I'm pretty sure he started going because his fucking family cat died when it was like 20 years old.
Gen Z guys aren't getting dates because they're so conservative nowadays. No, they're not getting dates because they're little babies. They're little babies and they want to be taken care of like little angel babies.
And aside from the obvious that our social skills are declining as the generations go on, men would rather hang out with their guys in a bar and women would rather hang out with their gals in a bar. So they sit tables across from each other, men, women, and they don't interact except for when somebody slips up and there's sexual attraction. And then for a second, they're like, it's like a give or take kind of thing, and then goes nowhere. Notice no numbers, notice if you are asking to hang out, you're not really following up, because men would rather spend time with men and women would rather spend time with women. I'm scared.
Huge monogamist at heart. I want undying commitment from the person that I am dating and that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I give that to them and I expect that in return. And I think our society's playing with that boundary is ultimately leading to a complete breakdown of healthy relationships. It's why you're seeing the vast majority of Gen Z unhappy in their relationships. It's why we have the lowest marriage rate since America began recording marriage rates in the 1860s, and we have the highest divorce rate as well. So we're unhappy when we're dating. We're not getting married. If we do get married, we end up getting divorced. And as a result, Pew Research has found that our generation is just taking ourselves off the market entirely. We decided it's not even worth it. So I think that's a huge component.
Are you talking about that recently released data from Pew? I mean, there's a whole bunch of data points, but the big one that I took from it was, I think it was comparing men and women between the ages of 18 to 29, and they found that women between the ages of 18 to 29 were twice as likely to be in relationships than men in that same age group.
But interesting study. So the first one that I referenced, the majority of Gen Zers, if you are in a relationship, you are unhappy. I think the figure from Pew, if I'm remembering correctly, and obviously I don't have it right in front of me, was about 73% of us who are dating are unhappy, really unhappy in our relationships. Those of us who aren't dating are intentionally not putting ourselves on the dating market for either casual or committed relationships. But the study that you're referencing was fascinating. That came out a few weeks ago. That women our age are more likely to be in relationships than men, which makes you think, who is everybody dating?
A lot of these other creators, they'll call this stuff out, but the answer is not single life. The answer is not to hate everything. This is a problem that will always be in human nature no matter what. It's not modern issue. This is always the issue. This is the man and woman issue. This is Adam and Eve, babe. Eve suggested to Adam, Adam fed into it, and it's ultimately Adam's fault because Adam didn't protect her from Eve's nature, that evil sexual nature. So that willfulness, that suggestion, that's why I tell women they need a man, because you need a man to correct you. You need a man to tell you how to be. You need a man to love you for who you are so that you can be who you are and blossom. Because without my husband, I would have never shared content. I would have never felt like I was enough. I would have never ever loved me as who I am. A person who is fighting for truth every day. You know, I'm so interested in truth. I've always been. And I feel like I wasn't able to really have the friendships that I desired because everyone doesn't care about the things I fucking care about. And that's okay. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like marriage gives you that friend, that lifelong friend that cares about everything that you fucking care about. That's what marriage gives you. Okay. So stop trusting your friends. Get you a man. Do you know what I mean?
Brother was gaslit. You remember what I've said before, fellas? The most gaslit person in America are black men. Mírame. Mírame. Look at me. Look at me. The most gaslit person in the United States of America today in 2026 is the black man, and this is the proof. That brother just simply asked a simple question. Let's do it one more again. Hold on. We're going to do it all the way from the beginning. Let's do it again.
As a single man who doesn't have any kids, why do we catch criticism for not wanting to commit to a woman who has kids?
Stop right there. Why do they catch criticism for that? They don't want to answer the question, but I'll answer the question. Brother, it's the same reason why black men who say, my preference is for a sister that keeps herself in shape. He catch criticism for that. My preference is for a sister that's lighter skinned. He catch preference for that. He gets hell for that. My preference is for a younger lady. He gets hell for that. My preference is for a sister that's more submissive. He gets hell for that. It's because, brother, black men are not to express or have any desires, any standards, period. And we know this is a bunch of bunk. We know it. If a black man expresses a preference, he didn't put anybody down. He didn't say anything. If he just says, I prefer this, there will be hell to pay.
Yo, even the younger generation of men are waking up.
It's interesting to see that the hoes are mad that we caught onto their game. I mean, what did you think was going to happen?
Facts.
Like, the TikTok is literally their internet diary. We pay attention to everything. We study, like, we just keep evolving.
Talk.
And that's a pretty cool thing about, you know, men. But, yeah, it's just like, it's crazy to see that they're mad that we caught onto their game when they told us the whole game.
It's so dope to see the younger generation catching on early, because not for nothing, back in the day, you was just blindsided. You got cheated on. You had no idea what the hell was going on. You just believe shit. Nowadays, chicks tell on themselves. They go on every social media platform. They put all their business out there. They give all their preference out there. If a chick wants to do with money, she's not even hiding it. She's straight up saying it. So it just, you know, gives you all the information you need to avoid those kinds of women, or just use them for what they need to be used for, which is a good time, not a long time. This is what I be telling you, yo. These chicks will tell on themselves. All the information is public knowledge, and you can discern accordingly. And then the chicks get mad at you when they put you onto the game that they running. And that's why birth rates at the lowest. The younger generation even drinking no more, because bottles was for shorties. Remember? Copping a bottle, go to the club, cop a bottle. Liquor business is so bad, even vineyards are starting to close down because nobody drinking no more. Because that's it. These hoes ain't worth the money no more. And I'm happy as hell to see the younger generation of men catching on, because that's a good thing.
33% of Gen Z blokes reckon that men should make the final decisions. Yep, it's working out real well. 31% think that a wife should obey her husband. 59% of them think that they're being asked to do too much to support gender equality. And 21% think that if you do any kind of childcare at all, you're less of a man. The generation that came up with OK Boomer have become boomers, except they're actually twice as likely to believe that stuff than actual boomers. Gen Z men are more likely to agree that men should solve their own problems before asking for help, and that you should never say I love you to a friend. That's one of the reasons that they are consistently less optimistic about their future than Gen Z women. Strangely, 60% of people said the world would work better if there were more women in positions of leadership. Those stats come from this study in honor of today, International Women's Day, and the survey was done across 29 different countries, more than 23,000 people taking part. This growing backlash against women and equality and the erosion of women's rights around the world is in large part due to an awful lot of stuff you see on here on social media. The pill pipeline, the manosphere, whatever you want to call it, is selling blokes bullshit, which is making them miserable, almost as miserable as they're trying to make women. And all they're doing is creating more and more division that we keep fighting against one another and not against the actual people causing problems.
Gen Z doesn't want to date, they want
situationships. What changed psychologically?
Even for millennials like myself, we wanted love, but it's passe, or it's somehow there's something cooler about casual sex. And so now what you see with Gen Z is they're following the same trend, but they're not really calling it that. They're calling it a situationship, where it's like a friendship with the sex. But it's not like with millennials where it was friends with benefits, where you would have only sex and then not have any type of intimacy beyond that, where you wouldn't be calling each other every day. You wouldn't be meeting each other's families. I don't think casual sex is good for anyone, for men or women. I think less promiscuity is better across the board. But I think the unfortunate thing with Gen Z is that some of them, I think the younger Gen Zers are moving away from this idea that casual sex is empowering, and they saw what it did to millennials and older Gen Z, and they're saying that's kind of tacky and we don't want that. But I think there is a segment of Gen Zers who mistakenly go into these arrangements thinking that they can keep sex and emotions separate. But the weird thing is that they will do basically everything that you would do in a relationship, like go on vacation with the other person. Yeah. Have pet names and things, talk every day, text every day, spend tons of time together. And then of course, one person falls in love with the other person and the other person says, well, no, I didn't want that. And I think it's also this lack of intimacy or not wanting to come across as vulnerable or needy. So they don't go into it saying, I'm looking for a relationship, or I want to settle down, or I want to get married. It's very much like, let's just see where it goes. And of course, it's wasting time, unfortunately. And then both people probably don't end up really getting what they want. Because I do think at the core, most people, even young people, want that connection. They want something real. It's just not seen culturally as cool to want that.
Dear Kim, I have 2 daughters. They're now 20 and 23 years old. My older daughter graduated from college last December, is living at home and working part-time in a restaurant while looking for her full-time job. My 20-year-old daughter will be starting her junior year while living at home and also working part-time. Neither of my daughters has ever been on a date or dated anyone. I've worried about this for quite a while. We've had discussions about it, and they say they never met anyone that they're interested in and really aren't looking or wanting to be in a relationship. I try to have faith that they'll be just fine and eventually will meet someone at the right time and in their own time. I never put pressure on them, and they really never bring it up or talk about it. But I think my worry comes from knowing that your 20s are a time when you meet a lot of people and figure out what you want and what you don't want. I was wondering if this is something that you hear very often from other parents, or is it an uncommon issue? Is it something that I should completely step back and leave up to them? Any advice is appreciated. First, let me say you are definitely not alone in this situation and in the way you're feeling. This is something that parents have reached out to me about, more often with daughters than with sons, but their lack of dating, like way less dating than when we were growing up. Capable, independent young people just not being interested in dating, but being more interested in their career or moving forward and figuring out who they are before they get involved with somebody else. Your daughters are grounded, well-rounded, independent women. They're working, studying, and engaging with the world on their own terms. That is a solid foundation, and one not every parent of emerging adult can say that their kids have. So let's talk specifically about dating. Yes, historically, the 20s are a time of, lots of different relationships and trying to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And that is shifting now. Research is showing that Gen Z is dating much less frequently than previous generations. Instead, they're prioritizing their personal development, career goals, and mental health. Many of them are more cautious about relationships and the emotional labor that goes into setting healthy boundaries when you're in a relationship. They're way more aware of that stuff than we were at that age. I'd say the pace of getting to independent adulthood is a lot slower than when we were growing up as well. I think your daughters have been pretty clear. They haven't found anyone they're interested in dating yet, and that's okay. It's not a red flag. It's them being honest. They're not avoiding intimacy, they're just not prioritizing it. And here's where you can make the biggest impact. Trust them. You've done your part by creating space and open communication with them that they can talk it through and feel safe. You said something really important. I try to have faith that they will be just fine and eventually will meet someone at the right time and in their own time. I want you to hold on to that. Don't panic and let them figure out their own timeline. Ultimately, ask yourself, what can I do about this anyway? Keep doing what you're doing. Be present, be open, and believe in them. Okay, parents, is this a situation that you can identify with? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
If they're becoming strong, independent women radicalized by this wave of feminism and boss babes, they're not going to find them. They're not going to find them. And we know this. They're going to have an attitude. They're not going to be pleasant to be around. So as much as it sounds great and everything is just going to work out, it might work out in their career. But as far as relationships, they're going to be I know you don't want to hear it. They're going to be emotionally stunted. I know you'd like to think that a lot of these ladies are well-rounded. They're not. They're not.
So there are two big, like, frowny face statistics that we have to really contend with because they've been the sort of problem of modern society for a real long time. And that is young men, so people like under 30, who are not getting in relationships and who are not getting jobs. And we've got some data here and here that show us that this is a problem for us. Now, historically, societies have dealt with this in a variety of, I'm just kidding, they did violence. If you go back to the Spanish conquest period, where the Spaniards are going into Latin America for the first time during the age of exploration, homie, they weren't sending scholars on those boats. War, historically, had been a pretty small thing, like pre-industrial war had been a pretty small thing. There are some exceptions in there, don't at me in these comments, but like, when you're having a problem with like dudes that don't have anything better going on, send them off to fight. And they can go take 3 acres of land from Lord Schmuckatelli down the road, and then they'll come back home and go back to the farm. They'll have some treasure. While they're out fighting, they get to steal. They're having a great time, and then they can come back home. But what the Industrial Revolution does, among all the other things that it does, is that it shifts this what do we do about the young men who haven't figured it out yet into factory labor, that there are always more jobs than people. And America had so many more jobs than people that it was just importing anyone that it could during the late 18 and early 1900s because all of our people could swing a hammer. And boy, were there so many hammers that needed swinging. Trouble is, during the mid-20th century, education rates go up and workforce participation becomes a little more complicated to do. There are not nearly as many hammer swingers and vegetable pickers in our modern economy. There is a lot more automation and a need to have technical skills in building those machines, in running those machines. It's not that the amount of jobs has gone down as automation has increased. It's that the kinds of jobs that are available are more likely to be technically complex. Pair that with the fact that when these men are online, there is a cottage industry of vitriol designed to melt their brains in exchange for money, where they can listen to all the Joe Rogans and Andrew Tates give them bad opinions about everything at the cyclic rate. So what's the fix? Well, part of the fix, I don't know the big overall fix, but part of the fix is that men like me, and hopefully if you're a dude around your, I don't know, in your late 20s, early 30s, you have some life experience, what we have to do is we have to start grabbing these young men and bringing them along into the modern world. That means encouraging them to read things that aren't self-help books. That means encouraging them to engage in podcasts that aren't about cryptocurrency. And that means inviting them along to the things that we're doing, even if they're a little awkward when they get there, because it's important that they become a part of the normal world and have decent dudes around them showing them the ropes.
I think we need to start helping young men to diversify their interests. Like say for instance, if he likes to play games, oh, you like to play games? It's like an interest, you have an interest in that? How do we build around that? How do we take that skill and that wanting to do that and build it into something else? Because there's a lot of things that a lot of women do, and you know, people allow them to continue doing that. Well, I like to just do hair and makeup. Oh, well, maybe you like to go to cosmetology school. Well, maybe you like to go to be a barber or a hairstylist, right? Well, you know, I like to do, well, maybe you can work in Hollywood, and we connect them. We build an industry and we connect them to their interest, right? But if a man is playing the game, well, you know, that's childish. You don't want to do that. But young ladies have been playing with Barbies since they were young, since they were babies, toddlers. Playing with hair, playing dress up, tea shop, that, well, you know, we're going to have tea. Then we grow up and then it's a success story because I have a tea shop. But we don't call that childish, right? We tend to think of video games as not using your brain. And you have game developers who are literally intentionally putting in things that challenge the mind, right? I mean, if for a lot of these games, they've gotten so complex that you have to use an extreme amount of brain power in order to solve these riddles. I don't know why people don't get that. It's because you don't like what men are doing that you see it as, oh, well, this isn't great. Let's teach them to do something else. Okay, fine. But what I'm saying is, if they like to play games, why do you like to play games? Well, it's fun. What's fun about it? Well, you know, it gives me this. What is it? What's your favorite game? Well, I like Batman. Okay, Batman is a specific one. What do you like about Batman? Well, I like the character of this. I like the character of that. I like this, and this. And you begin to be Netflix to him. And you say, oh, like Batman, maybe you like Spider-Man. I don't like Spider-Man. Why would you ever suggest that? Well, because you like superheroes. You like comics and stuff. Well, I don't like Spider-Man. Okay, so we take Spider-Man out of the rotation, and maybe we bring in another character who kind of a lone wolf. I don't know, Iron Man. Well, he's kind of got the billionaire essence like Bruce Wayne. Huh. Okay, well, let me check him out. I'm not really a fan of that, but let me check him out. Now you phased him from DC to Marvel, and then you start building on that idea and say, hey man, I bought this book on this type of person, and it's a really great story. What is it? I mean, it's like some sort of billionaire that's building really cool tech, and you know, something like, wow, I would like to see it. I would like to hear about that. And then you transitioned him from DC to Marvel to a book that's outside of comics, and he's reading it. Man, I was really inspired by that. Yeah, man, some of that tech that was in the thing was really great, and they have a conference for that type of stuff, man. Really, yeah, where you can test it out and put your hands on it and really just like play around with it and really get those creative juices flowing. Man, where's that conference at? Where's that? Well, man, you know, actually, it's happening right down the street. It costs maybe, I don't know, $50. $50, man. I got $50, man. When we going? But I wasn't gonna go, but we can go. And then you go, and he starts playing around. Man, I'm really into the tech space. I really love it. This and that. And he starts bringing his phone, his recording. And what do you know? You have a Marquise. What is it? Marquise Brown Lee. What do you know? Because you took his ideas and his interest and you said, okay, we're not going to shy away from that. We're going to take you and put you here, match here, and we're going to chain you all the way into something that might be more tethered to everybody else in the world. It's not necessarily a problem that you're playing games, but we want you to be connected with other people and find other individuals, other community outside of here. Oh man, I can get with that. But too many times you have people that try to demonize what a man is doing and how he lives his life. Oh, well, that's not accepted by society. And then the man said, man, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And he finds people like himself and they stay away from y'all. And then because they're not doing what you tell them to do, and you don't have the strength to go in there and make them stop, you try to get society to shame them. And then you try to come in there and bombard them and doze them, and essentially what you're trying to do is kick in the door and flip their table. And then that's when they get upset with you and they don't want to hear you. That's my opinion.
Bro, in 2026, there are more Gen Z men that have never had a girlfriend versus that have. It seems like every year, I seen a YouTube video about this, every year it's only getting worse for men that are like in their 20s, like just men in general. It's I'm not just saying it's just hard for men, it's hard for women too, but the loneliness in men, the numbers just keep spiking up and up every single year. Now if you fit inside that bracket, right, I want to tell you something. If you're a dude that feel like you can't find a woman that'll connect with you and, you know, like you for you, it took me almost all of my 20s to like realize I was meeting women in the wrong places, not, you know, doing my hobbies or what I like to do. And no, going to the hookah lounge and smoking and partying and dancing don't count as no damn hobby. Beating people at the club is not a good idea unless you want one night stands. That's where all of pretty much my one night stands came from, was meeting people at the club. I don't recommend that shit after a while. That shit gets old. And you might wake up with your shit on fire. But what it took me to realize, right? The girl that I'm dating now, I haven't been in a relationship, right, in 2.5 years. So I was kind of rusty. I've dated, but I haven't been in no actual like real relationship. I almost damn near forgot what it felt like to be in a relationship because it felt like it's been so long. And the last relationship I was in, I got cheated on. She came to me because I was putting myself out there on what I like to do. You know, I like to do music. That's one thing that me and her have in common. She liked to sing and she liked to do all, you know, all of that lovey-dovey stuff, right? When it comes down to music. And that's the biggest thing we have in common. So if you're meeting women and it's not something that, you know, something that like you're doing, like your hobbies and your passions or whatever, it makes it harder to find a woman you connect with, if you get what I'm trying to say. So if you're going out to the clubs or whatever, you know, what do y'all have in common? Y'all just like to go clubbing and drinking and getting fucked up? What about meeting somebody going to the gym, right? You let's say you like to go to the gym. You meet somebody who goes to the gym. They want to be a bodybuilder type shit, whatever. You meet somebody when you're going out to the park and exercising. You know, it could be anything that's adventurous, going out places and all that. Like, you know, and that's I feel like that's where a lot of men fail at, is that they always try to go to clubs. They go to places where there's a lot of pretty women at. Going to clubs and bars and all that. You can't expect no relationship out of that majority of the time.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely start going places and meeting these women where, you know, they're not necessarily in these environments. You're looking for a certain mindset. And once you start asking questions, even if you're at like a network event or like a mixer or something like that, you can start to, over time, learn the questions to ask. And then, you know, you might ask you might ask a bad question, but by listening and understanding and like looking at their body language, you start to see, oh, you know, she's probably a nice person. She probably would be good for this man, but she's not going to be good for me. But why not? And then you can formulate exactly why, instead of saying you're not pretty enough or you have too much of an attitude. You can just say, well, I just feel like you're like a certain person, like you do this, and you start naming off the things that you think she would do. Well, I just feel like you would do this, and this, and you would kind of be this type of person, right? So, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm going in this direction. So I think you're pretty. I think you have this, and this going for you, which is great. But I don't know if you would mesh together. And that's the honest truth. You said, I don't think you're for me, but you said it in a way that is not rude. It is not off-putting, right? So it could be in a club. Could be, I wouldn't recommend it, but it could be in a club, could be in a gym, could be at a gas station. You could literally find anybody anywhere, right? I would say even in a parking lot. I would say even in a parking lot at night, there's guys that are walking around. And would I suggest this? Would I suggest this? No, I would not, to be honest with you. But I'm just saying it's a possibility with the way that you learn how to move and position yourself. It's definitely doable. And you learn how not to waste your time and your money.
I have come to a genius conclusion, and it is why Gen Z has an awful time with dating nowadays. Are you Gen Z? Do you have a failed situationship, relationship, talking phase, anything? I'm sure the answer is yes. I've had too many to count. But after my last failed relationship, I was really thinking deeply about this topic. I wholeheartedly believe that it is because Gen Z is broke. Hear me out. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but we're the generation, right? We dealt with COVID. It ruined our work ethic. I personally was a junior in high school when COVID started, and it ruined my work ethic so much, and it took me so much to get that back. Like, you're sitting at home, doing school from home, you can look everything up online, classes become so much easier, You don't have to put in effort to go to school. You don't have to wake up early, dress up, all of it. It becomes a cakewalk. And then our generation gets into college, ChatGPT comes out, classes are easy, you can take online classes if you want, and it has genuinely just become such a work from home, lazy environment. It's upsetting too, because our parents weren't like this. I know you're gonna come for me and say that I sound crazy because I probably do, and I know I sound like my parents, but it's true. Our parents worked multiple jobs. They went to school, got ready, had to study in the library, not use the internet. Oh my gosh, why do I sound so old? And then we're sitting here complaining about the fact that we have one 8 a.m. class throughout our whole day. We don't have a job, and that's all we have to do. Anyways, moral of this story is that the way Gen Z has been raised is lazy. We are a lazy generation, and we need to fix this. But what does being a lazy generation entail? It means that we are not going to make good money. I figured out how to get around this, so I'm not a part of the we anymore. Everyone is too lazy to work an actual job where you have to get up and get there at 8 a.m. and stay until 5 or 6 and put effort into your appearance and put effort into your job. People expect to get work from home jobs now. Work from home jobs do not pay as well, and they're just not sustainable for a long term. So in turn, we're all graduating from college. No one is accepting jobs, meaning we aren't getting jobs, meaning we're working retail jobs or side jobs that aren't paying anything. And Gen Z, we're all in our 20s. So, moral of the story, we're all broke in that aspect. Dating fails if you are broke. Girls and guys. Guys cannot take girls out to nice dates. They can't dine them. They can't impress them. And I know it's not all about money, but money is a factor. You need to put in effort for the person that you are seeing. And the person that you are seeing needs to see that you are someone that can provide for them in the future. Typically, a girl and a guy situation. Or if you are a girl and are just completely broke, the guy needs to see that you're not just dating him to use him for his money. It needs to be a joint effort to make money. And as Gen Z, we tend to date older now because there are people that have more of a concept of money. That's the point of my life that I'm at. Not old, you know what I mean, but like later 20s. And we just really need to work on this. I went through this situation way too many times, and I finally just got to the point where I was like, I need to find an extra form of income. So all I did was download this app called PayMe, and then I opened up my PayPal account. I got an extra $200 payout. It just showed up there. It was so simple, literally took me a minute. And I think that everyone in Gen Z needs to be doing this because we need that extra money. We need to be able to pay for the tab once in a while. If it's an actual boyfriend or an actual girlfriend, it needs to be, yes, primarily the man that pays, but it needs to be split up every once in a while, and you need to be self-sustainable. I know I'm just rambling on, but I feel so strongly about this.
A lot of men don't mind putting in effort. They don't mind spending money. It's just when the money doesn't get you anything, the effort doesn't get you anything. At some point in time, you have to be smart about it and say, this is a wasted effort. This is wasted time. I could have been in the gym for the last couple of hours working on myself. For people who don't go to the gym, they could say, man, I could have spent 30 minutes in the gym. Put up a video and said, oh man, I grinded today, and then worked on trying to get in the gym for 45 minutes and then an hour, however long it takes you to get your body in shape. They could have gone on a run. They could have gone on a walk. Within that 2 hours, gotten home, taken the shower, and been sitting on the couch chilling or working on their business. They could have saved money, but instead they're taking you guys out. trying to wine you and dine you because y'all want a certain level of status or to be seen in a certain light or in a certain way. You're too expensive and the cost isn't justified.
I just want to know what has happened to this generation where we don't care to date anymore. We don't care to form meaningful one-on-one connections anymore. We don't care to get to know a person anymore, genuinely. I just feel like today's world has gotten so superficial that like nobody cares to be like a normal human being wanting to form those one-on-one connections and actually build something with one person. And I have such an insane story that literally just happened to me and I felt so hurt by it that I felt like I really needed to speak about it. So I'm just gonna give you the full story. It's absolutely insane. So this is months and months ago at this point, but I saw a guy on Instagram. He's in the same field as me. So he does photography, videography. He travels full time for it like me. So he travels the world. Thought he was cute. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build up the self-confidence, the courage to slide into his DMs. Cause I have the confidence to do that and I'm not afraid to shoot my shot. So I was like, hey, let me message him. I sent him a DM and I was like, hey, I think your stuff is really great. Like, I think your videos are so cool. Like, I also think you're really cute. Like, would love to meet up sometime, shoot some time, would love to hang out, right? Guy responds to me and basically says like, hey, like, I think you're cool. I think you're great too. But just so you know, I'm not looking for anything other than a platonic friendship right now. And I was like, fine. Like, he did nothing wrong. Like, I cannot be mad about that. Like, absolutely not. Like, that is totally fine. I'm like, that's totally great. I said, I can be friends. I'm like, no problem. I was like, I need friends in this industry. Fine. Like, we can take videos together, be friends. Amazing. So obviously we follow each other on Instagram. Like, from then on, like I said, this was months ago. About a couple of days ago, now at this point, I reposted a photo on my story of me and my best friend. It was a photo of the two of us together. And like, she's my best friend. Like, I love her. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. He had the audacity to slide up on my story and go, who's your friend? Who's your friend? Set me up with your friend. Oh my God, I fucking lost my mind because like, how dare you? How dare you? Like, there's a difference between just someone signing up with my story, asking about my friend. Like, I've had so many guys ask me about my friend. Like, it makes sense. Like, that's fine. That's fine. Ask me about her. Great. When I go out of my way though and tell you that I'm interested in you and then you turn me down telling me that you're not looking for anything other than something platonic right now, but then you go and be like, oh, but wait, who's your friend? Did you not think that would completely tear down my self-confidence? Like, just completely take a low blow? Like, that's such a low blow. Like, did you not have a thought before that? And then I said that to him. I said, did you not think it took a lot of confidence for me to even DM you in the first place and shoot my shot? And then for you to turn around and ask about my friend, like, that makes me feel so bad about myself. Like, I feel so shitty right now. Like, my confidence is at an all-time zero. So thank you for that. And he was apologetic and he was like, I'm so sorry. But then he goes on and he says, I think you're so cool. You're so talented. Like, I think you're so great, blah, blah, blah. I don't need your fucking sympathy now, bro. I don't need it now. And then he continues to go on and say, like, I honestly forgot that you, like, had reached out to me first and, like, DMs me, blah, blah, blah. That makes it worse. So what? You're telling me I'm so great, I'm so talented, I'm so cool, but you forgot that, but I'm so forgettable? Like, I said, you're contradicting yourself. And, like, I don't want the sympathy now. Like, I'm saying, like, in this generation, we're so flooded with options. We're so flooded with, like, just people in our face all the time on social media that, like, we don't even care that when, like, an opportunity comes in our face, we don't even care to, like, get to know that person on an individual level. Like, in a real world, like, me and him would be more compatible because, right, we both do photography, videography, we both travel the world full time. Like, there's compatibility there. But he didn't give a fuck about that because, what, I have a less curvy body than she does? Like, oh my God, that's crazy to me. It's crazy. Like, where is the genuity? Like, why don't people care about, like, actually forming meaningful connections anymore in this generation? Like, it's so scary. I think this generation is honestly, like, we should be worried about our future and if we're gonna actually find partners, because I don't want to be negative, but, like, I genuinely, like, it's hard to be, like, hopeful when, like, you're just constantly faced with people like that all the time. So anyway, moral of the story, I'm about to, like, I'm about to go demon, so.
That's something that you need to deal with. That's nothing that is on him. That's something that you have to deal with. He told you he wasn't looking for anything platonic. That should have been the end of it. Don't y'all say to accept and take rejection gracefully? Modern women have a lot of nerve and audacity to get on the internet and try to scold a man for being nice to them. Say, I'm not looking for anything but platonic friendship. Period. End of story. I'm not interested in you. Why come you didn't read between the lines? And then comes back and he says, who's your friend? Oh man, she's really pretty. I like her. Oh, how dare you? You don't care about my feelings? Okay, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Hey, I didn't mean to make it feel that way. I just, I think you're a cool person. I'm just not interested in you. Doesn't a guy have a right not to be interested in you? Apparently with modern women, not.